Good morning, guys. It's Wednesday, August the 4th, 2021. I'm not real good at math, but I believe it's the 40th year anniversary of my grandma passing away. Goldie Elizabeth Furnish was my great grandma. She was basically my mom. I wanted to make a tribute to her and tell you what a great lady this woman was. Anybody that has ever been in her life knows that everything I'm about to tell you is true. We'll start from the beginning. Goldie Elizabeth Worley was born August 26th, 1907, in humble beginnings in a small town called Whitley City, Kentucky. That's in McCreary County. I can't remember a lot about her young childhood, but she did have a couple other siblings. One that I really knew well was her sister Florence. She also was a Worley, but her last name became Strunk, S-T-R-U-N-K. Florence was just a little bit older than my grandma. She was born in 1900. Grandma was raised down there in the South in Kentucky, and very humble beginnings. I take it she probably met my great-grandpa, whom I did not know personally. But they had two sons together. Maybe a third. I'm real sketchy about all these old things, because we're talking about a woman that would be over 120 some years old now. So these are things I learned till I was 6 years old. But my grandpa was Paris. So that's where the blood side comes in. Then we have my Aunt Sheila, my mom, and a whole slew of other children, including my Uncle Philip, who I mentioned in my life story was adopted by my great-grandma and my step-great-grandpa. I don't want to call him my step because he was my grandpa. But they raised my Uncle Philip until he passed away at age 18. It was really tragic. It happened in a small town called Trenton, Texas. If anybody knows where that's at personally, could you get a hold of me? Because really, I would kind of like to know where that is and some information about the area. Now, back to Grandma. We'll start with me, because I can't give you any other information about what happened and when she got divorced, but she married Ray Furnish. That's my grandpa. That's the only great-grandpa I ever knew. So the other Mr. Helton, I don't know where he's at or what happened to him, and I can't give any stories, but from what I understood, I believe he drank alcohol and he was kind of abusive, and my grandma wouldn't have put up with that. So they divorced, and she married Ray Furnish, my great-grandpa, and I was born in 1972. Let's skip. So Grandma was at an elderly age, basically, at that point. So it was going to be hard on her to raise a kid like me. I was a very rambunctious child. I was spoiled, and I got away with whatever I wanted because of her. And any of my family will tell you that this is the God's honest truth. If my family does happen to watch this, I would like to have your input about what you thought I was like as a child. But Grandma came and got me, and she became my legal guardian by my mom. She didn't adopt me. I wasn't a foster child. She just raised me. And she had the ability to take me to the doctor, the hospital, whatever, sign me up for school. So, Grandma was so special to me. I don't have any pictures. I wish I did. And what I want to tell you is, as a young kid, you know, I got flies all over me. But what I want to say is, as a child growing up, you guys all had Nike, Adidas, Nautica, Under Armour. You had all these t-shirts that you guys had. But the one thing I remember is my grandma made me special shirts. She made me buy my very own brand. They were mine. When I was in kindergarten, I remember the shirt that I wore to have my kindergarten pictures taken in. I was what they call a towhead, which is a blonde. My hair was white. I had the bluest of blue eyes. I was just the cutest little thing. And everybody loved me because of that. They didn't like the way I acted, you know, because I was pretty rambunctious, but Grandma made the shirt for me. And it'll make me cry. It was a red shirt. It had a blue collar, just a rounded neck collar, and the sleeves were blue. I'll never forget that shirt. I was so proud of myself of being in that shirt because I looked so good. It was just a regular t-shirt, but it wasn't regular like regular. It was a polyester, so it was a little bit, you know, hot and stuff like. I remember it. At 5 years old, I remember that shirt. But she made me all different kinds of shirts. And I don't remember her making me any pants. But I wore a lot of, you know, thrift store hand-me-downs. People that they knew gave them clothes for me. So, I didn't wear the best. I got one pair of shoes at the beginning of the school year, and they had to last me the entire school year. And the ones that I wore the year before were my play shoes. I had to change them when I came home. I changed school clothes. I wasn't allowed to go out and play in the ones that I went to school in. Those are what I wore to school. Things were different back then when I was young. And I think it was different for most people that would be between probably 60 and 75 years old. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking to the older generation. I'm not talking to anybody 40 or below, because you can't understand this type of raising, because people didn't do that in that time frame. Your mom and dad didn't make your clothes like that. Maybe they did, but when my grandma was little, they made everything. Dresses. You know, these women knew how to sew. And we had an old Singer sewing machine. She would turn it and thread it. I'd watch her sit there and make things. She would crochet blankets and Afghans. I wish I had some of these. I miss her. Grandma was very sickly when I was a young boy. And probably late July of 1981, I remember the night very well. Grandma was so sick. And my Uncle Bill and my great grandpa Ray had to carry her to the car. And they said she was going to the hospital. And obviously I said, I want to go too. They didn't allow me to, Grandpa didn't. And they made me stay with Bill. And I remember that night so vividly, I couldn't sleep. Uncle Bill always listened to country music, and he had a clock radio that he played music on all night long, and it just kept me awake. But, Grandpa would come home and check on me and, things like that. And I don't know how or when, but he came home and he got me. And he took me to Goldie's, my great grandma, to her son's house, which is my grandpa, Paris. And Sheila will attest for this. I was there at their home, and at 8:15 on August the 4th, 1981, I lost the most important person in my life. And every single year since then, I don't care what's going on, what's happening, I'm always up every year at 8:15 on August the 4th. And I always say a little prayer for my grandma. And I tell her how much I miss her. And even after all these years, I still break down because of her. It never goes away, guys. Never. It'll never go away. The pain, the loss, the memories, you'll never forget them. And I don't want to. I have a really hard time remembering what she looks like, but I can see her form. And that's all that matters. I just don't want to forget. And I don't want anybody who's watching this who knows her to forget her. She was the most godliest woman I ever met. There was a lady that had a ton of children, a ton, and kept having them, and kept having them, and kept having them. I disagreed with this. I met all the kids. I know them all. And my grandma helped this lady who was have children that she didn't need to be having because she couldn't take care of them. She helped that lady get every one of those children adopted but one. And that woman was stuck with a man that was almost or was 50 years old when he finally left the nest because she couldn't get rid of him. But it is what it is. The other kids all got a good home. They were with Christian families. Some of them grew up okay. Some of them didn't fare as well. But We all live our mistakes. This has been a really hard video to make. So, again, this is a tribute to my grandma, Goldie Furnish. August 26, 1907 to August the 4th, 2021. Thank you for listening to my story. God bless you guys.